Day, celebrating women in technology. Let's do a couple of kind of housekeeping issues here this morning. If everybody could, if you don't mind, to move over to the chairs, if you don't mind, when you get a chance. That way we can kind of have everybody centralized. Also, I've had a couple of questions about where the ladies' room is. That's one of the most important things to remember, especially at a conference like this. If you go out the door, you're going to make your first left. That's going to take you down the hallway where the ladies' room is, and the ladies' room is on the left-hand side. Does everybody have a schedule this morning? Did everybody get a schedule? We're obviously slightly deviated from that schedule already, but that's okay. We're going to have a very, very special guest this morning come and talk to you about women in technology. But before we do that, we are also going to, did everybody get breakfast this morning? Because they won't serve lunch until we eat all of breakfast. So we will, oh good, there's our group. Everybody turn right away. Good morning. We're glad that you all could join us this morning. One of the things that we will be talking about today is obviously women in technical careers. Why do you think technology is important, particularly to us as females? Any ideas? Not enough coffee, okay. First of all, let me read a couple of facts. This might kind of pique your interest. In the year of 2000, women earned 73 cents for every dollar that men earned. Does that surprise you? No, everybody's shaking their head no. Let's see, what about in 2000, the median income of women over age 65 was roughly half the median income of men the same age. Surprising? No? Getting no's again? Let's see, in 2000, women over 65 were nearly twice as likely as men over 65 to live in poverty. This is why we're here today. We're here to talk about how to level the playing field, and it's all about choices. And I'm very pleased that you're here today because we are going to talk about some choices that you all will have. As you're choosing your careers, there's some options that you may not be aware of. And we're here today to talk about those different options and to see what options might fit best with you. So I'm very also pleased to introduce Ms. Mary Milliken-Davies. She's the Director of Institutional Assessment and Research. And she's going to introduce our keynote speaker. She's also going to serve as our mediator for our panel discussion here a little bit later. So would you please put your hands together for Dr. Mary Milliken-Davies. I'd like to welcome you to OSU Okmulgee's Women in Technology Day, Careers Day. We have gathered for you today basically a brain trust full of resources to help you make some decisions. Our brain trust consists of a guest speaker, Ms. Josiane Simonon, and we have a panel discussion that will follow afterwards in which you can ask questions. And we have some questions to facilitate as well, so we can find out exactly what people do and what women do in these technical careers, and why do they do them, what's expected, what good things can happen in them. I'd like to begin then by introducing to you our guest speaker. She is Josiane Simonon of WOSTA, and that is Watchmakers of Switzerland Training and Educational Program. Josiane is a third-generation watchmaker, and she lives in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. She's worked in the industry with her husband Antoine throughout their 41-year marriage, working with your spouse for 41 years, and they've done it successfully. She has two daughters, one who is also a watchmaker, and she enjoys working with others whose life choices are a good fit as teachers. So please welcome Josiane Simonon.
As it was already mentioned, please come a bit forward. I'm not going to bite, even if I come from Switzerland. I'm not here for that. And there is a joke that says we should always remove the first row. And as you can see, it's the fact. So please, can you just move a bit further?
Hey, Kelly, or should we turn the speaker on? Turn it up. Is that better?
So thank you for the courageous ones. Now, before I actually present myself, I would like to tell you one thing, which is very important to me, and it is the fact that you are here today because you are about to choose your profession. You are about to choose for something to do in your life, in an adult situation. And it means today you are the most important people. Each one of you, because in today's world, I mean, all the time, everybody is unique. And that is, I would say, my first message. Everybody is unique. There is no person that is the same as the other person. There is a core that is unique, and that's the part that you build on since you are born, and that as an adult you go on building up. And that I would like you to remember, because you will hear about what I have done in my life, you will hear about the panel, what they do here, but you are also very important. You are about to start, you are the future generation, you are the people who are going to change this world, hopefully, and it means you will have to do it. So therefore, it's good to start today. Now, as Mary said, I'm the third generation of watchmaker. Actually, I'm not a watchmaker. But my grandfather was a watchmaker. My father was a watchmaker. So I was born in a watchmaking environment. I was working a little bit for my father when I was 4 years old, doing, winding springs. It's putting a spring in a tiny little piece like that, which I found fascinating, but it was not for the technological aspect, but because, if you didn't do it properly, it would blow into your face. When I was a teenager, I worked again for my father to get a bit of pocket money, and I was doing more complicated things, than winding mainspring. But everybody soon found out that I was definitely not gifted for that. My father did give me the pocket money, but really, he was just redoing everything that I was trying to do. So to me, my relation to technology is something which I just can't understand. So that makes me different today if I have to speak about it, is the fact that, you talk in watchmaking of tiny little pieces. And then they go and make difference between 3 layers. And to me, to start thinking like that is just too much. If I see a broken car, just to think that you know how to mend it, right. I rather do my work, which is on the organization side, public relations and so on, than to start thinking about technological aspects. But I've always been surrounded by people whose profession was watchmaking. And when I was a teenager again, I decided I was never going to marry a watchmaker. Because my father was a real watchmaker. Fortunately, he had a lot of humor, but he would always see the little thing that was wrong in a piece of furniture or something, and I thought, this is too much. So I said, I will never marry a watchmaker because I won't be able to cope with someone like that. Well, as you just heard, I've been married to a watchmaker for 41 years, almost next week. And on top of that, I have a daughter who's a watchmaker. And now I have a son-in-law who's a watchmaker. Actually, he's going to take over from my husband next year. And my husband goes on retirement, and I'm staying on. So my destiny is really in watchmaking, as you can see. But I would say always next to it, like accompanying people whose profession was watchmaking. So I can look at it from a distance, and this is a little bit the way I want to talk to you, because I know what it is, I know the difficult part about it, and so on. I can see where the dangers are, because I'm not inside, I'm just outside. So, when they asked me to be the guest speaker here, I didn't know if they made a mistake, because as I said, I'm not in watchmaking, and on top of it, I'm not an American woman. And women are women, but I must say it's a totally different mentality in America as it is in Europe, I would say. So therefore, I don't exactly know how you think and what you expect and so on. And I will come back on that subject later on. But also this will give me the freedom to talk about things which are not exactly in the theme of today, and I will leave the other questions to those people who are really related with technology and will be able to give you elements which you need if you want to step in a profession that has a relation with technology. Now, if I want to speak about me today, I gave you a little bit my background with these elements of technology. Today I'm working with VOSTEP, as you heard. It's Watchmakers of Switzerland Training and Education Program. We have an international watchmaking school in Switzerland where we have people from all over the world. And we do have 15 schools around the world that implement our program, which is a very demanding program. It is 3,000 hours training. And Okmulgee, here the school, is one of these 15 schools. Therefore, I'm in charge of the administration of that. I've built it up right from the beginning because there was nothing. It was just an idea, okay? We do a partnership with watchmaking schools around the world. So it's a nice idea. There is a technical part which is the core of it, but then there is also an administrative part, which is very important. And from my experience, watchmakers, I'm not talking technological people, but watchmakers are the people who dedicate themselves to their profession, but they have a tendency to leave out the administration, which, you know, complicates life and so on. So this is my job, you know, so therefore I'm not always very popular when I say, you know, by the way, this, that, you know. But anyway, it's one side of it. You have to fight for what you believe in. And that is really something you will have to remember. Nothing comes down from heaven. You have to fight for something, not against something. And that's very important. Today's world, we always can spot, you know, what is wrong, and therefore you fight against something. You can never win like that, because you might win the case, but you will never win on a sentimental basis, which you can say, okay, I achieved something. When there is a loser or a winner, it's not a solution. So, as you heard, one of the characteristics that I have is that I have been working with my husband for 41 years. He's in the technical side, I am on the administrative side, so we complement each other, and maybe that's the reason why it lasted that long. But I would say we are one of these couples who have to work together. There are people that will tell you, I could never work with my spouse. And that exists. And it's not a question of this is a solution. It's an individual solution. So I would say today I'm a very lucky person because I enjoy my work. I fully enjoy my work. It's full of challenges. It's full of new things. But I would also like to say that what does it mean to be lucky? And that is for you. It's not something that happens like that. It's something that you have to build up. You have to build up by adding bits and pieces, by going backwards, sideways, by being sad because it doesn't happen. But it doesn't just happen like that. I mean, there are very few cases, and they look only like that from the outside, where people just sit there and everything happens like that. This is what we see, but this is not what people go through. So therefore, you know, you can also be lucky. And that I am sure of. That's why I said you are all unique, and you will be able to build up what is needed and what you're looking for. Because each one of you is looking for something. Maybe you don't know what it is. I mean, there are a few lucky people who know when they are 4 years old, I'm going to become a doctor, or I'm going to do that. But these are the lucky ones.
The others, they have to search. They have to try something, come back, do something else. And if you just give up because it doesn't work, you will try something new, other, and you will just do the same thing. And the end will be, it will always be somebody else's fault why it didn't work. When you can say, it didn't work because that situation or that, then you must always remember, you have to look at yourself. You can do something. It's sure, it happens sometimes because of other people, but if you give up, nothing is going to happen. Now there is one thing that I very much appreciate in reading is biographies. And do you know what always comes in every biography? Do you have an idea what it is? It's something that is like a red thread through all the biographies that have been written from famous people or less famous people or somebody who has done something special. So what is it? Do you have an idea? Try. Yes. Yes. Okay. But it's, yes, this is sure. But there's something else. Yes. But something that is linked to each one of you sitting in this room. Yes. But the one, yes?
They were inspired by someone.
Yes, that is true. That is true. And what you say means, you know, luck, you have to grab it when it comes. It happens in everybody's life. You must never forget. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your upbringing has been, or your luck, or your misery, or whatever, luck always comes. We say luck knocks 3 times, and then it goes. If you haven't seen it on the 3rd time, it's not going to knock again in that specific aspect. It's like a little star, and it means if you don't grab it, it will go. And some people say it happens every day. So we've got work to do to be able to remember that you have to look for it. And it doesn't happen because somebody brings you a lottery ticket that is a good one. It happens sometimes through terrible things. If you read biographies, you will see that people in the midst of where everything was black and dark, that's where they realized what they had to do. So it's not, luck is not something that looks nice when it comes back. It's a question. A little bit the question I had for today, you know, to speak a little bit about my experience with technology. All of a sudden I had to ask myself questions which I usually have for other people. So it makes a bit of difference. But the one thing, and I've already touched on that, that comes in every biography, you will see that the person that is in the book, the way it started, it's the most awful way you could have wished the thing to happen. It always happened in a way you would say, well, if you would like to put it how it should be in the right way, it's not that. And usually you feel if you wanted to invent it, you just couldn't, because people wouldn't believe you. But this is one fact. If you read biographies, and you are at an age where biography are something inspiring, because you can see something that when the people are dead, you can see how it happened at different stages. And if you take one day in their life, you might say, but this is impossible. You know, it looks impossible. If you look the whole thing, and that's the nice part about biographies, you have like a picture in front of you. And it is an example. It's not really an example to copy, but it's an example of what one person that was unique managed to do in this life. So it's not a question of doing the same thing, but finding what is unique about you and what you can do. And there is a German writer who said, we have to start with the impossible, because after that we can always do the possible. And I think this is really very important, because it is true. You know, if you do the easy part, first you don't get much satisfaction. And if you tackle the impossible things, then something happens that might not happen otherwise. Now, okay, I told you that I'm working next to technology, so therefore I want again to use this distance to give you some elements. I will talk a little bit about watchmaking afterwards, just remind me in case I forget. But first of all, I want to say that, okay, if I want to, well, what is technology? What would you say? If you had to put words, what would you say? What is technology? I mean, you came here, women in technology. So what does it mean? Just words. Pardon?
A tool.
A tool, yes, but then what's the difference between technology and another kind of profession? It's a man's word. That's how it's known. And the facts that were given to you shows that that's where the difference is. And it means, if it's a man's word, it means, and that's my interpretation, it is another logic. Men and women have got different approach to different elements. And not one is right and the other one is wrong, but the two have to be together so that you can go forward. And this is a little bit the word of technology. It's a man's word. It doesn't mean women don't belong to it. To the contrary, because it will bring this element of a certain logic. It will come with other things which are needed for tomorrow. But it is a man's word. It's black or white, most of the time. But it needs imagination, it needs building up, it needs creativity. And that, I think, it's the women that can bring it. It doesn't mean it's only the women, because there are men that are very creative, but it's more on the feminine qualities. Now, if you enter a technological career, either, I mean, is somebody here around this room who knows I want to go in technology because this is what I am attracted by? Can you just put your hand up if that's your case? I see, they're sitting. You see, these are the ones who are not scared. That's good. So, it means the others are looking, you know, will it be that or will it be something else? So, these people are the lucky ones, they know. And it also means that when you are lucky enough to know that, it will happen. That is for sure. I knew someone, it had nothing to do with technology, but she was in Paris, and she wanted to become a museum curator. Well, in those days, they told her, you know, this is all very well, but there is maybe one position or two positions every year, so therefore, why don't you choose something else? She says, no, this is what I want to do. So everybody tried to convince her, and she did it. And she was, and still is, a curator of a museum, because she wanted it, and it happened. So these are the lucky ones. Now, otherwise, if you go into technology because you want to prove yourself that you can do the same as a man, then I would say don't do it. Because it means you will always fight against something, you will not bring something to the profession, but you will try to prove yourself. And I think this is just about the worst thing to do. You have to to improve yourself, but not to prove yourself, and against something. So you will find that something is not going to work, well, it's because it's a man's work. Well, it's because men don't understand women. You know, you can list all kinds of things which are tricks in the technological world. Because it's facts, but it's not the real facts, because this kind of thing you will find in any profession. There will always be someone who is in your way, and there is always someone that you have to convince of the elements that you believe in, if you believe it strong enough. So this is a little bit the tricks. So when you choose a profession, whatever it is, because as I said, I will put myself just a little bit outside of technology, just remember to know why you want to do something. Because if you ask yourself that question, you can maybe see elements that you can say, well, if this is what I want, is that the right way? There might be other ways. Now, I want to tell you a little bit something about watchmaking, because it is part of the programs that are offered here. It's usually around the world also a men's world. There are more men than women in watchmaking. There is only one field in Switzerland. These are the women that are dealing with timing, which is a very precise part of watchmaking. That are mostly women. And why are they women? Because a woman is gifted to find an element that is not calculated because it's black or white, or it should be there, and it has so many teeth and it cannot have one less. It's a question of hitting the right place at the right moment. And this is a women's world in Switzerland, what we call them régleuses. And these are the people who are deal mainly with regulation of the watch, making sure the watch works on time. And that's not just an easy thing to do. And it's not something that happens through wheels. It's something that happens through the balance. And it has to, it's moving, it's a hairspring. And that means exactly what it is. It's a hairspring. So therefore, it's something that is alive in the watch. It's like the heart of the watch. And that's the part where women are good at. And my experience at Rostep, as I said, we are an international school. We have people from all over the world, and mostly men, but sometimes women. And there is one part of the program where if a woman is not careful, she will just hit her head against the wall because she will say, I can't do it. And there was one girl, she was American, she was crying, and I said, now what's wrong? She says, you know, I am with the timing instruction, and I just can't do it. And I told her, now use your feminine quality. This is the time. Before you had to make it right. You had to make it like it's in a man's world. It's so many teeth, and it works like that, and you don't have option, and you can't make it nicer by adding a teeth. But there you have to use intuition. And she did it, and it was all of a sudden easy. So this is also one of the tricks in a man's world. You know, if you want to compete with elements, then you forget that you can use your own qualities, feminine qualities, and they are needed. And I would say this is maybe the most important thing if you join a technical career, is that you will be bringing some of the feminine qualities, and I am sure they are very much needed in the future. Because otherwise it just builds up on something that becomes inhuman. You know, having a watch that loses 1 second in 3,000 years, it's marvelous. But everybody wants a watch that makes tic-tac. And even if it loses a bit more time, it's human. It has something to do with the person who built it. As an electronic watch would just be something that is very precise. Okay, if that's the purpose, it's fine. But you live with your watch, some people day and night. This is the piece that accompanies you the whole life. And therefore, the people get a special relation, which is not just technology. But feminine qualities are really very much needed, and maybe that's your future, to say, right, there is something to add, you have to understand what is happening, it's not easy, you have to follow, you have to learn, but maybe you can bring something. Not just be like a man, but bring something to that man's work. Now, another thing, it's very difficult to choose a profession. And one way of doing it is to try to have a vision of what you want to be in 5 years. Well, let's make it 3, because I know it's a difficult question. What you want to be, where, and with whom. So if you ask yourself these questions, and you cannot answer them just overnight, you have to live with them for a while, you can build up an image around you, and then it's like a house. If you know what your house is going to be, if you build it wrongly, you will see it's wrong. Your profession is a little bit like that. You can build on it, and it doesn't matter if you make wrong turns, or if you have to go sideways. That's not important. But the aim should always be to be building up what is needed. If you think about yourself in 15 years, and you have to write a curriculum, that means a resume, how it says here, it will have elements. You did that, and that, and that, and that. This is what your boss is going to look at. And in that, he can see what you have done, which profession, have you changed a lot? Did you add something that had nothing to do with what you were aiming at? I mean, I'm talking about, I always take that example of working at McDonald's, because McDonald's, I mean, I know it's very popular here, but they have a very strict organization. If you work for them, you do that and not that. You have to do a certain amount of things. It means you get used to discipline. And discipline is really what is needed in any profession. You cannot just move like that sideways. It's a discipline to aim for the right thing. So in a resume, to have worked in different places where you actually acquire experiences will be an asset. And in 15 years, when you look at your CV, it's better that it's not just one track and there is nothing else. You must open doors. You must make sure you can do different kinds of things. And that you keep on learning. This is really the most important. Keep on learning. I mean, okay. For me, it's still the same. I mean, I learn every day. And I would like to say that today, the one thing that fascinates me, it's people of your age, because you come with totally different qualities, totally different talents, which to me are a question mark. You have a mission to change the world, and it's not, okay, it's always been like that, and I can recognize it. This is different. And therefore, it's important to work on that. So, yesterday I mentioned my image of an American woman. It's like a legend. And I suppose if you know I'm Swiss, what would you say? What kind of word would you say? Maybe you've been in Switzerland or you've never been in Switzerland. When you say Switzerland, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Heidi. Okay, what else? What else? What else? Cheese. Cheese? What did you say? Chocolate. Chocolate? Cow. Exactly. We've got them. Huh? So, these are the kind of things, that when you look at the country from far away, you see this kind of thing. You think that Swiss people live on the mountain with Heidi, they have cows, they have milk, they make cheese, and they eat chocolate. Well, my idea about an American woman, And I warn you, it's also a kind of element that has got nothing to do with the reality. But in Europe, we see American women as very feministic people. Is that the right word? You know, they did fight for it, and they are, you know, what a man does, I can do better. You know, this is a little bit the way I see it. And I want to say it was very much needed. It was needed because things had to change. Therefore, you always have to go to an extreme before you actually come to a balance. But today, what is important is really to aim at putting the two extremes together. You know, it's not a matter of attacking to win, but fighting for the things that you believe in. It's not a matter of proving that you can do it better, but to say, right, I can put elements that are otherwise missing. But you will have to fight for it. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, you have to convince people. And you have to try many, many, many times. And that is my experience. You know, when I believed in something, I tried it once and I thought, you know, I thought about it so well. They can only see it. Well, don't have illusions. People don't see it. Then the second time and the third time, and sometimes you give up, you say, well, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe it's hopeless, they just don't see it. And all of a sudden, somebody comes up and says, by the way, I had an idea. And there it comes again, in a totally different way. So you can feel, well, you know, he just grabbed my idea and now I'm the loser. But what is important when you did fight for something and not against something, what is important is that it happens. Whether it's you or somebody else, you were part of it, even if people don't recognize you as a part of it. And that is also very important. I mean, the future is, I would say, on an altruistic way. What's a word for that can be understood? You know, you can work egoistically, I mean, just for yourself, or you can do it for others.
Magnanimity, cooperation.
Yeah. And this is the solution for tomorrow. If we keep fighting against each other, nation, people, women against men, there will always be somebody who gains. But will we win something for the future? I don't think so. And one thing also I would like to say that whether you work in technology, but maybe more in technology than in other fields, you will be very much alone with yourself. And this is a must. Today we are very much individually minded, and it means we learn a lot for ourselves, but it also means that we are alone. And you can look at it as something that is a hindrance, but you can look at it as something which is a quality. It is a must. You will be alone, and it's through being alone that you will be able to build something. So don't always look at that as a negative side, but also as a positive aspect. Of course, you will need elements to work with other people, and that's also the future, the team working. And that is also something that doesn't happen overnight. You know, maybe everybody says team working is the best thing. But when you start practicing it, you find out that what you thought somebody thought is not exactly what is the reality. And therefore you have to work on that. And if you have the privilege to work with a few people with whom you can really build up, this is the start. Always start with something small. Don't think, you know, it's got to happen overnight and it's got to be there, and if it's not there, I'm not starting. It's the small little elements, and these are also the elements of luck that passes your way, that might look like nothing, but is the start of something and is like a door to the future. And since we are in America, there is one biography that I read this year, which has fascinated me, and it's an American woman. She's called Katharine Graham. Do you know who she is? She was born in the family that was owning the Washington Post in Washington, and she wrote a book which is called Personal History. It's a book that thick, and if you read it, you will see that what she had to go through to be where she was, and in a man's world, and it had nothing to do with technology, but journalism at that time was really something that was a man's world. And she was sitting in a board of directors meeting, and there was about 20 men around her. That's what she had to live with. And she did it. And she did it in a very ethical way. That's also one of a key point. It's the ethical part of what you do. And to me, this was a very important book. As I said, I like biographies, but that one was a very important one. And since she's American, I wanted to mention her here because I think she's a very important person for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josie. Your message about balance and harmony is a message that pervades throughout our careers and throughout our lives. If you seek a career, if you seek out for yourself balance and harmony, then the other things will come. So that's an excellent message. I'd like to call our panelists for discussion up to the front now and introduce them to you. So we have them. Testing, is that a little bit louder? Is that better? Okay, thanks. Everyone getting comfortable? If you'd like something to drink or eat in the back, please help yourself. Well, thank you for coming, panelists. I'd like to introduce them to you, and then we have some questions that we would like them to answer. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask as we go, please go ahead and join right in, because this is interactive, and it's an opportunity for you to ask specific questions that you want to know to help you make a decision. For instance, we know that there are many different types of technical fields, and we offer some of them here at OSU Okmulgee. But that doesn't mean it's the only job for you. For instance, we know traditionally women have been more likely to select careers in nursing and teaching, and those are very noble professions, and we continue to need them. But those aren't the only noble professions. Technical careers also are avenues and opportunities for you if you have the information to make your choice. So what we'd like to do is to provide you with that information. And we have 5 panelists here today. You met Josiane Zimmerman. She is from the watchmaking technology field. And we'd like to maybe we'll start on the other end, I suppose. Would you mind just standing up? We have Lori Smith. And Lori Smith is a 1999 graduate of OSU Okmulgee in the Computer Systems Technology program today, that Information Technology of the IT program. She began working at OSU Okmulgee immediately following her graduation, and now serves as the Manager of Application Development for Computer and Information Services. She is currently finishing up her bachelor's also in Business Information Technology, and most importantly, she has 3 boys, ranging in age from age 4 to age 12. And we are very happy that she could come. Thank you, Lori. Next, Michelle Zare. Michelle actually, she was born in Florida, but she's lived in Oklahoma most of her life since 1980. She has a bachelor's degree in music, and she joined the Marines after high school. After graduating from college. And played in the Marine band in Hawaii for 3 years. So she's had a very interesting background.
Once she was out of the Marines, she went to Okmulgee Community College, where she got her associate in applied sciences in automotive technology. She's worked for 3 years in an independent shop and for a dealership, and today she has just joined our faculty. She teaches for us here today, and we're glad to have you, Michelle. Candace Van Hoos is our next panelist. Candace is an instructor in the engineering technology divisions here in electrical and electronics. She has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Michigan Technical University. And she's been with us here for 1 year with 7 years experience in the chemical industry and 3 more years in the food industry as a control engineer. Her skills encompass electrical systems, industrial management with a focus on programmable logical controllers, DC and AC servo systems. So she'll come with a background of computer degree too. She also enjoys the outdoors, and some of her favorite pastimes are hiking and running. Thank you for coming. Another panelist we have for you today is Evie Beatty. Evie began her career by working in a machine shop at the age of 19. And she worked for 5 years and then left when she got married. She was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years, often doing volunteer work throughout the community. And she returned to the technical workforce and eventually earned her associate's degree in manufacturing engineering. When she completed her degree, she immediately received a salary increase of $10,000, and just as soon as she got her degree. And when she finished that, she has gone on to earn several other promotions. And she has, fortunately for us, she has decided to become a faculty member with us in the engineering technology program, just about to finish her bachelor's degree in industrial operations management in December. And then we'll go right on into her master's degree as well. So thank you for coming. You see we have some variety here, engineering and computers and watchmaking. Those are some of the areas that we can provide information for you. What I'd like to do is start with a question that goes again a little bit more into your technological field. Can you tell us a little bit more about your technical field of specialization and what abilities you brought with you that made you choose that? Who would like to start?
I guess in manufacturing, first of all, like she had said, I started running machines. I enjoyed getting dirty. I mean, I was just a tomboy. So that was one of the things I really enjoyed. I liked being able to be clean. I could go get a dress on, look real fancy, but then I could get out there and do things with my hands. To me, that was really important to be able to work with my hands. Something else that I brought with it was basically I could organize things. Right now I like setting up companies. If they have a product, I like to go in and set up the whole company where the whole process of that part and that product is going to go through the company without any snag. They come out with a finished product to sell to somebody. To me, I mean, the organization, like you were saying here, it is so neat. And this is one thing that women can do. You all can do that better than anybody. Women can organize and get things going in a nice flow. But I feel like that's one of the things that I really brought to the manufacturing area.
My background is in control engineering, which is also electrical engineering, and I've worked extensively with a lot of technology, like we have systems called PLCs that are similar to computer systems, and things like motors and drives, which have historically been, mostly worked on by men in the past. I grew up, my dad was a construction worker, and we built our own home, and so he always encouraged me to work on stuff, throughout the house, and to watch him work on cars. And so I always got used to, like Abby said, working with my hands and not being afraid to dive into stuff that was maybe typically, more of a guy type of activity. I did really well in school. I loved math and science. And I had a math teacher that was excellent, that really helped me, encouraged me in that area. And that's one of the decisions that helped me decide to go into electrical engineering. Was my strength was in math. So.
Well, I actually had kind of an odd career path, as you guys probably noticed already. My father, when I grew up, I was kind of daddy's little girl. I also enjoyed getting dirty and building tree houses and that kind of thing. But he was also the musician in the family. So pretty much from the age 6 and 7 up, music was always part of my life too. But they didn't discourage me from going outside and dinking around on the cars. And he had a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and he bought me a little mini bike and painted mine just like his, that kind of thing. So, you know, I did the music thing for several years, and once I got out of the Marine Corps, I had an open slate, basically, and decided, you know, I'm sure many of you seeing it right now say, I'm interested in this, and I'm interested in many other things. Well, I also kind of have a little mental list of things in life I pretty much want to learn about. And I had the opportunity at that point. I didn't have a career, I didn't have a house. I was moving back here from Hawaii, and it was kind of like having an opportunity to start all over again. So I chose automotive technology, and that's basically, I'm the person back in the shop fixing your car. When your car breaks down, you bring it to me, and the people that I teach to do that. So really, you know, I like the point that she had made earlier about, you know, don't be afraid to try to learn new things, because the only thing that's going to defeat you is your own fear of failure, really. If you're afraid of failing, then you probably will. And I'm not going to sit up here and say I don't get up every day and fear something, and you know, fear that I might not do something good enough. But really, I think you'll probably find out if you're giving it 110%, then it's going to be better than what most people would be able to do. So it's interesting to kind of hear the pathway these other ladies have had too. But automotive technology is my area.
My path started really young. As Mary mentioned, I have 3 children, 3 boys. My first child I had when I was 14 years old, was in 9th grade. In high school, you know, first year in high school, that was really difficult to deal with. But, you know, at that point I knew, okay, I'm going to have to graduate from high school. I'm going to have to get a good job so I can take care of myself and my family and get off of, you know, welfare and that kind of thing. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And that's okay. I mean, that's one thing I want to stress to you guys, is if you don't know what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. When I walked onto this campus, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that they had a few programs that I was interested in. So I just walked into admissions and said, okay, look, here's what I think I want to do. And I set up some tours. And that's the best thing, is go around to each department, see what they have to offer, see if it's something that you would like. And it just turns out that I was really impressed with the computer technology program, computer programming. I didn't even know how to turn a computer on. I mean, I swear, it was, you know, it was kind of scary, but it was like, okay, you know, I can do this, I know I can do this. And so that's how I got started. I mean, I met the instructors, and they were very helpful. It was the first college that I went to where I felt like I'm at home. You know, it's not like all these people are, you know, really awkward or that it's uncomfortable. I mean, it was a very comfortable setting. This is like a big family. I'd also gone to TCC, and I went to Stillwater, and I just didn't feel, you know, that real connection there. This place is like a big family. And so I completed the computer systems technology program. I actually had a child while I was in the middle of the program, so it took me 3 years. Graduated and then started working. I graduated on Friday, started working here on Monday. So it was a quick turnaround, and I've been here for a little over 3 years now. But just want to stress to you all that it's okay. I mean, if you don't really know what you want to do, just take a look at what we have to offer, or what other schools have to offer, and take that first step, you know, and just go check out those programs a little bit more in detail so you can get a better idea of what they have to offer and what you'd like to do. So that's kind of how I got started.
Any comments you'd like to make? Please feel free to ask if you have. Well, I'd like to mention that only about 28% of all 9th graders complete a bachelor's degree nationwide. Can I ask you how important you feel education has been in your careers?
As you said before with me, just the associates, $10,000, that is a lot of money. I was making well into the 30s by that time after just my associate's degree. And now I'll be graduating in a week and a half with my bachelor's. I'm excited to see what kind of money I'm going to make with the bachelor's degree. And then going with my master's, there's no telling what I'll make. I'll tell you, it's very, very important with these educations, getting your degree if you want to advance yourself, because things are changing all the time. You know, learning, you need to learn every day. Never stop learning, because there's so much out there.
I
think education is extremely important. It's been in my career. It's opened up doors for me that I would not have had available to me had I just not done anything when I left high school. It's really important. The more education you have, basically, sometimes the more money you can make. So as far as you want to extend your education, I would strongly encourage you to do that.
Education, my mother gives me a hard time because she says I'm going to be a lifetime student, which is probably true. I'll be completing my master's degree in May, and I'm in the process of choosing a school to do my doctoral studies. But education is going to open doors for you more than anything. I think it shows that you have put the time and the energy into trying to teach yourself, and that you're serious about it. And if all of you are sitting out there right now thinking, well, do all of us just have millions of dollars in the bank account and we can just write the check to pay for the books and the tuition and all that? Well, no, I doubt any of us do. But ladies, if you want to go to school, there is a way, okay? I mean, I don't have scholarships for my master's degree, and the higher up you go, the more expensive it gets. So education is extremely important, and it's not limited to just your career path either. If I want to learn about anything, go find a school that's got some classes on it and go learn it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be just your career path either, but constantly educate yourself. It's really the key to growing and not becoming stagnant, just really bored with life, basically.
Well, when I came back from Stillwater, I started working at Homeland, and it was like, okay, I don't have my degree, and I can't really get, a better job than working, at some of the local stores around my hometown. And the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I don't want to continue, living this way, because I want to be able to take good care of my family and, not have to live from paycheck to paycheck. And one thing I want to mention is Mary was talking about careers in nursing or in education. I mean, those are very good, very, worthwhile careers. But the pay, unfortunately, is not where it should be. In a technical career, you can make a lot more money. And I mean, that was a big motivator for me because I wanted to be able to take good care of my family. And after attending this school, I was able to start out in the 30s, and, that was a lot better than my $6.50 an hour at Homeland, and so I've been able to be on my own and take care of my family. And with a career in a technical field, I mean, that's what allowed me to do that, because, the more traditional careers have good pay scales, and I mean, very good in terms of, how you feel for helping other people, but technical careers also have a very good incentive, and that is the pay. So, but education, again, I mean, you can't get those jobs without a degree. And the difference between a 2-year degree and a 4-year degree, I mean, I don't mean to sound like you don't know what the difference is, but in mine, as experience, you go through the 2-year degree, and it's like you can go get a job, right then. The 4-year degree takes a little bit longer, but eventually, I mean, in my opinion, a 4-year degree is something that you'll need to work towards after. Like, if you need to get a job and get an education and get right out and get a job, then a 2-year degree is really good because it gets you right into the field, and then you can move up and continue your education. A lot of companies will pay for, your continuing education or pay for parts of it, so they can help you with paying for your bachelor's degree as well. So I definitely agree that education was the best thing that I did for myself.
Josie Ann, how does education play into watchmaking?
Well, I want to start with what you said, because it's very important. Do you do something quick, or do you add elements so that it will last? And if I take watchmaking in this country, it came down from the 3,000 hours, which is a reality in that world, to schools that only had 800 hours. Which means people who come out of that program with 800 hours, they don't really get a job. They get something to do with a very low salary. And as you said, this is a trick. You can get a job, so you're really fed up with it, and you think, okay, I can afford things that I cannot afford as a student. But you must look at it on a long-term basis, because when things go wrong somewhere, the people with less education are the ones that will have to go. So this is also important in your choice. You are building up something. This is not just for 2, 3 years or 4 or 5 years, but you are building something for your life. So therefore, put all the chances on your side.
Yes.
I just had a comment about what these ladies have said, young ladies that are here. Having worked in college admissions for a number of years, one of the things that I saw with young women coming in, or men, is you don't know what to do, and so you choose something that you're familiar with, and not that this is a bad deal, falling into that ditch of, well, I think I'll go into business so I can be a businessman or a businesswoman or something like that. Look around at the competition. How many people are going to be vying for jobs with business degrees or something very common? And look at the areas that these ladies are from. I mean, there's just not the competition in watchmaking schools. I mean, how many watchmakers are there? There's a need for those kinds of people. How many people in the areas of engineering and manufacturing, automotive, and computer science and stuff like that? Look at the competition. That's what I'm hearing from you guys. It's huge.
That's actually a good point. My first career was engineering as well, and in 1980, when I got out of undergraduate school, I had 5 job offers in 3 months, and my male counterparts had 1 or 2. Of course, it could have been that I was just that much better, but on the other hand, I think they tended to think that. On the other hand, it also is that people do value having women in technical careers in their workplace. So that's a very good point. I have another question for you, and a point to make first. In a recent study, 46% of high school females reported that they could not think of anyone outside of their parents or schools who played a significant role in career counseling. What factors influenced you to select your careers, and who was your most significant mentor?
I have to say that one of my mentors is my grandmother. She never got to get very much of an education, and she worked and worked and worked. She just passed away a few weeks ago, and I truly love her as a mom. She's the one that pushed me to go to school. She said, don't stop at just a high school education. Don't work like me, and she'd show me her hands, how they would bend up and things like that. So I'd have to say she was one that really, really pushed me to get an education and keep on going and never stop, just constantly learn. Another person I feel like meant a lot was my dad. He was the one that said that I could do anything I wanted. Whatever I set my mind to, don't let anybody stop me. Go for it, and you can do it. I think those both are the 2 main important people in my life. Got me to go with it.
I can think of 2 people that had a significant influence on my life. One was a math teacher that I mentioned earlier in high school that I had. He was an engineer at General Motors, and he retired from there and decided to go into teaching. He made math very fun and interesting, and he gave you real life, applications to use it in. So it made it real to me. So he really encouraged me to become better at math and also to pursue a profession that had a lot of math in it. Another person that encouraged me to pursue an education was my dad. He worked very hard as a construction worker. A lot of physical labor goes into that, and he did not want to see his children growing up with that type of a job. He wanted us to have good education and to make some good money at it, so that we wouldn't have to work as hard as he did in his life.
The 2 people probably most influenced me was definitely my mother. Now she's in her 50s now. She has 37 years of doing the same thing experience, but you know what? I'm going to be making more money than she is next year, being a teacher for 1 year, than she will because of the degree. And number 2, I just recently hired the boss above her, and because he has a degree, he gets paid $50,000 plus, but she has to train him how to do the job. So, back to the education thing is very important. So my mom has been a huge factor because, I talk to her every single day and I say, I don't want to be that way. I don't want to work and have as much knowledge as you do and not get paid for it. It's not right. And then probably the other person that influenced me was a 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Runner, I had. In the 5th grade was when computers started getting put into schools when I was in the 5th grade, and Apple computers, I don't know if any of you even remember that. It was in DOS mode back then, and we had a deal where we as fifth graders could tutor kindergartners on how to use a computer. And she threw me in there, and let me do it. She didn't say, no, you can't do that because you're a girl. She let me do it just like anybody else, and that year was pivotal. I actually remember making the decision, I think I'm going to make school a priority for myself. And when I was a senior in high school and graduated, I wrote her a letter and thanked her because she was that influential, and I think of where I am right now.
I would also say my mother was very instrumental in influencing me to continue my education. My mother has worked in a glass factory in my hometown since I was a year old, and I mean, she works, 1 week of shift work, it's like 8 to 4, and then they change and rotate shifts. And I mean, in the summertime, she's in there in 120-degree weather and just miserable. And I looked at that and said, okay, I don't want to be in that same situation. I don't want to be having to slave like that in a really physical environment. And the only way that I could see to get around that was education. And so that was another reason why I decided to get a college degree. And of course, my children were my other motivating factor, so that I could be able to take care of them.
Well, I'm going to be the one person, the odd one out. Because, and this is, I'm saying it because it's also to give you hopes. I mean, I just have high school. That's what I have. But what I did do is that I always kept learning, wanted to know things, adding my own education. And that's also a possibility. I would say it's maybe not the one to recommend because it's better to have something organized in these days. But if you get to age, you think, okay, well, I just have that, and now my future is closed. It's not true. You can still go on building it. And the one person, this is not when I was very young, but that's about 20 years ago, that told me something also very important. I was always looking for the best solution. And why should I stop at something less than the best? And he told me that's not how you should look at it. You must find the solution. Now, it's difficult to say it in English. When you have to find solution, you always have something that is not right. And out of these solutions that are not right, you must choose the one that offers the most possibility. But if you just look for the best, you will never find it because it doesn't exist. So you will not look at something that has less, but on which you can build up. And that was something important, but that's very personal because it opened up a totally new field.
Thank you. What do you consider to be the greatest challenge you face in your career, and what have you done or are you doing to overcome that? Or do you feel like you have a major challenge at this point?
Well, then maybe I start. Well, my greatest challenge, because I am working for a watchmaking school and I'm surrounded by technical people, is to have a teamwork which is technically minded and I would say administratively minded. Because the two have to go together. And this is a challenge because on one side or the other people think, this is the way it should be, and they don't consider to think, okay, you can look at it in a different way. And you must never forget that if you want to understand someone, the way people work, you must try to put yourself in their shoes and see, through which glasses are they looking through. And then you ask questions, and then you find out. So this is a challenge, and this is still an everyday challenge for me, because we have a technical team, we have an administrative team. And I must say that, of course, I can only work on the teamwork between the two, but the one thing that I am very proud about is the fact that the administrative team is something that works very well in our school, in the sense that I always ask something to the people who come and work for me, is, okay, they have to have a certain amount of elements that is a must, you know, if they want to come in accounting, that's what they have to have, and so on. But then I always ask them, what do you like to do? And these things can be totally out of what is needed for WhatsApp, but out of that, you can build up on talents. And talents is something that you have that belongs to you, that makes you unique. And the education is something you build up on what you learn. But these talents, in today's world, they are usually left aside. They are not so important. And this is the one thing that to me is important, is to use these talents and make something that goes beyond the work that you have to do, so that people get satisfaction. And there are, people tell me, you know, there's not many places where you go and say, you know, what do you like to do? You know? And with that, then we are 5 people, we work with that, and the miracle is that even the things that people don't like to do, there is always somebody who likes to do it. And I take an example. We have to make parcels. We don't have to make a lot of parcels, so there is an organization. And I don't like making parcels. You know? Therefore, I think if I don't like it, then nobody likes it. And I've got around me 4 people who just love to make parcels. And it means that if I don't want to do it, I don't push it onto somebody else, but I give it to somebody who enjoys it. But without such questions, you would not know. You would just think nobody likes it. And if you can share this kind of work, it makes it a very interesting place to work for.
Anyone else have a challenge you'd like to share?
I would say going to school, working full-time, going to school full-time, and having a full-time family. That has been a very large challenge. One thing that's helped me, I'm married. I've been married for 25 years. My husband and I work as a team. There's some days that I can do stuff, and he picks up and he runs and does it. It's something that we've worked at, and it's worked real good. Now our kids, I've got a 21-year-old son. He just moved out. He's going to college. I have a 20-year-old daughter. She's working full-time, trying to be assistant manager at a place. And then I have a 17-year-old daughter that just had a baby. So now we have even the grandbaby in the house. Well, all of them were there. They all pitched in and kind of helped, and we all worked as a team, the whole family. That way, I was able to do what I needed to do. Each person in the family did what they needed. They were able to go to school to get their grades, and they also had part-time jobs and all that. It's just like, you know, we had our own company right there at our house, and we all worked together as a team. And I think that it was a challenge, and I think that each one of us have pulled away from this challenge, and we've all learned. Each one of my kids have grown up to know what they need to do in their life. Is to work and to take care of the responsibilities and things like that. And in turn, they understand how important the education is. So I think, you know, yes, it's been a challenge, but it's been really something that we've all worked at, and I think it's worked out good.
One of the biggest challenges I've had in my career was making the decision to go into teaching. I knew that financially that was going to cut my pay in about half, and I wasn't sure if I could handle that. So, but after being here teaching for the last year, it is so rewarding to see students get excited about learning electrical systems, and just when they have that light bulb moment when they learn something for the first time and they actually understand it. It just makes it all worth it. So.
My biggest challenge has probably been convincing a man that a woman can fix a car. And you know, I've never worked with another woman in an automotive shop, and I haven't met many. Actually, I haven't met any other women who have actually done this. But that's okay, because that's what we're all here for, to let you know that we're out there. You know, if you're interested. My answer to that was, you know, people are going to doubt you. Men are going to doubt you if you're not confident. How do you get the confidence? Well, you get the confidence by making sure you know what you're doing and you're competent at your job. And the way you become competent is just by working very hard. And maybe you may have to work a little harder in some areas than other people. I know I did. But I graduated top of my class out with 12 other guys. I graduated top of my class, and from that, I earned instant respect and confidence to know that, hey, I can do this just as well as anybody else. And that just carries in and to the workplace, and the ability to self-educate is also very important. You can't ever stop that, because the field changes constantly. So, you know, whatever choice you make with your career, I don't care if it is technology or whatever, be confident and be competent. That's going to get you farther than anything.
I'd have to totally agree with what Michelle said. In my field, it's computer programming basically, and then we have networking and, you know, programming and other things like that. And, I mean, it's predominantly men. That is true. Learning what you are going to school for and being competent at it is very important because, you know, honestly, they tend to not take you seriously, or that, you know, you walk in and you kind of are inferior, and you just have to be confident and show them that you do know what you're talking about. And it gets easier. I mean, it's not a constant struggle. I mean, but yeah, there is some initial, proving that you would have to do. And continuing education has probably been my other biggest challenge because of, like the other panelists have said, we, you know, have a full-time job and a full-time family, and my solution has been taking classes online. And that's been very helpful for me because I don't have to leave my kids and go drive to a campus somewhere and, you know, be gone several nights a week to continue my classes. I just log onto the computer after the kids go to sleep, you know, and I do my work. So that's been a really powerful tool for me, and it's allowed me to continue to get my bachelor's degree. It's been very helpful.
It sounds as if the greatest challenges then for you really turned out to be your greatest successes, overcoming society's biases, or overcoming what people said you couldn't do, but you did, and you did very well. I commend you for that. Would anyone else? Yes.
I have a question. Normally we hear women in the work world are normally, like we said, paid less and somewhat discriminated against in their jobs, and you all being in the non-traditional jobs, I would think would be experience more discrimination than women that are in traditional jobs. Have you experienced that, and are you paid the same exact amounts as your counterparts that are male, or have you experienced that you're paid less than the male counterparts?
I did experience that with my first job in an automotive shop. And it was pretty frustrating, as you can imagine, because I knew that I was just as qualified as my male counterpart. As a matter of fact, it was a person who went through the same school as me in the same class as me. We graduated together. Actually, I graduated before he did. You know, there's those kinds of situations, you can do what she said, fight against it, or find a solution. In my specific case, I didn't want to quit the field, so I did speak with my boss about the situation, and he was unwilling to change it, so I just found a better situation for myself. I found a job where I knew I was being paid equally with my counterparts, and actually ended up learning a whole lot more in that second job that I had than the first one. It was a much better environment. So really, in those situations, you can either choose to become a victim and say, never mind, this is a bunch of, you know, this is not a good thing, and get all upset about it, or you can just maintain focus on your goal, which is you want to do this. So go and find another way to make that happen, and don't focus on the negativity, because there's plenty of that out there, and you'll eat yourself alive by focusing on negativity.
And do you find that your male counterparts get promoted before you all?
The glass ceiling effect.
I think the glass ceiling is alive and well, okay? And if you don't know what that is, that's basically just the people who hire you say, and it's not just a women's thing, it's a minority thing, and it's really, in my opinion, well, it's a civil rights issue, in my opinion. But that's basically saying, you know, we're going to hire you, but we pretty much have it in our minds you're not going to get any higher than this, okay? And I did a huge paper on that in graduate school last semester, and it does exist, and basically educate yourself about the glass ceiling, be aware of the signs, and ultimately you can't control if I'm going to choose to hold you up. You can't really stop me from doing that. So you need to educate yourself about where you're getting yourself employed and the people you're going to be working with to prevent that from happening. And have options. Always create options for yourself. Make yourself more marketable. And again, that's through education and knowledge.
And there are organizations where that's not the case. Certainly at OSU Okmulgee, we have a male president, but we have 2 female vice presidents. And I applaud that. There are organizations out there where you won't have to fight that. Anyone else have a glass ceiling effect in their life?
I would say I've experienced a glass ceiling in corporate America too. I always felt I was paid equally to my male counterparts though, and promotions were available. But I would say what I experienced more was harassment from men who were almost jealous of the fact that a woman was excelling beyond them. And it comes in subtle forms like withholding of information so that you can't advance. They protect things like motor/drive technology very strongly, and men are very well networked. This is an area where women need to build some strengths in and become more networked together to help us pass that information back and forth about these technologies.
I know one of the places that I have worked for, I love the job. I was given a lot of opportunity to move around in the company. I would get the pay, but I never got the promotion. And that's one of the reasons I had left that company, is because of that. When I first started out in the machine shop, I was getting paid a lot less than whenever I was hired on. I was trained, I was getting paid a lot less than people coming in off the street, and I had to train them. And I was very upset with that. That's one of the reasons I went to school too, to get an education. And I think that's, that helped me to get the higher raise. But yeah, I could see a difference. There is a difference. And
The higher rate but equal?
it may not have been totally equal. It was higher. And I think all through the process, it was never equal to the other people. And the way that they got out of that is not having the same classification. I had a different classification, so I couldn't be paid the same. And that's something you have to watch out about when you go out there and getting these jobs. Look at the classification of the other employees, men and women. Look at the classification so that you're going to know if the pay is equal or not, because that is one way that it's gotten around. So but yes, there is a difference still. And and I do agree, like what she's saying, the women need to network. The men network so good, and the women are not used to that because we've never had to do it. That's something that we need to work, all women need to work together to do positively. And I think meetings like this, get-togethers, organizations are going to help that, to see what's out there and what's needed.
In my experience, when I was doing my last semester here, I did an internship at a large company in Tulsa. And one of my mates from school, one of my friends, was also doing an internship at the same time, and he was, a guy. And I was actually tutoring him in his last semester so that he could graduate on time. We were going to graduate at the same time. And we were both offered a position at that company. He was offered more money and a better position than I was. And I was tutoring him, so I was not really happy about that. And I think it's very important that you look at those types of situations and don't settle. And I didn't. It was like I had other offers and other opportunities. And it was a little scary because, you got this big company and then I had an offer here. And it was like, school versus big company, what should I do? But it was like the atmosphere here was so much better that, they offered me a better benefits package here. They actually offered me more money here. And I took this position and I'm so thankful now because I've actually had the guy that would have been my boss come back and tell me, I'm sorry that happened and we're really, we've noticed how well you've done and we really wish we could have hung on to you. And so just don't give up and don't settle. That's definitely some good advice.
Any other questions that you'd like to ask our panelists? Are we running short on time?
We are.
If I could summarize, I would say that if you find something that is your heart's desire, find something that you're good at, that you have a passion for, that will bring balance and harmony into your life, and you'll experience that in your job as well. And you can overcome whatever, there will be obstacles. And like Josie said earlier, there are obstacles in every career. But when you persevere, you can overcome them and turn those into successes. So thank you all so much for coming and sharing your experience.
Happening. I'm sorry I don't have one for each of you, but whoever is interested, It is a magazine that you bring out twice a year and gives a bit the life of WOSTEP. So you're welcome to that.
Thank you so much, panelists. Let's give them one more round of applause. I'd like to also invite you all to stay on for lunch so that we can do some of that networking and some things that we were talking about. Are we all ready to get up and stretch and go see some things? Yay. Okay, everybody, Mary Graves, raise your hand. This is going to be our tour guide today. We're getting ready to go see some of those exciting technology